Welcome back, everybody. We are going to continue with lesson 8.2 on scientific notation. We are on day 2, so we're going to focus on this objective, being able to multiply and divide expressions that contain scientific notation. So let's warm up from yesterday, and we're going to practice writing this number in scientific notation. So here's what we do. We can ignore the parentheses, okay, because the exponent's inside, it's not outside, so ignore the parentheses, and let's do 7 multiplied to 4. 7 multiplied to 4 is 28, and now that's multiplied to 10 to the 5th power. But remember, scientific notation says that this number has to be in between 1 and 10, and it's not, it's too big. So I'm going to put my decimal right here, and I'm going to write 2.8 multiplied to 10. Now, I need to move it one spot to the right. Because this number is bigger than 1, 28, that's a positive move. So I'm going to add 1 to the exponent I already had on my 10. So I will increase that to 6. So I'll show you later on. I'm going to be doing this in the video a lot, so you'll see it again. On this one, I need to multiply this to this, so I'm going to do that right now. That equals 0.60, okay, so I'm going to write that as 0.6. I'm going to bring this stuff down, so 0.6 multiplied to 10 to the negative 3 power. Now, I need my decimal here so that this number is between 1 and 10. So I'm going to move it over one spot. Because this is a small number, less than 1, this move's going to be a negative move. So I'm moving this way, so that's a negative 1. So my answer is 6 point, and you don't have to say 0, just 6, multiplied to 10. Now, I minused 1, so I have to minus 1 from negative 3. So negative 3 minus 1. And that gives me negative 4. So there is my answer. I want you to focus on this question right here. So we have a scientific notation number in parentheses multiplied to another scientific notation number in parentheses. So here are the steps we're going to follow to answer this. So you can just follow along and just listen. First, we're going to multiply the coefficients together. So basically, I'm going to multiply the 2.1 to the 3.2. When I do that, I get 6.72. My second step is I'm going to add the exponents together with the base 10. So I'm going to add the 8 and the 4. Okay, so it's 10 to the 8th multiplied to 10 to the 4. So we add that together and we get 12. So that's 10 to the 12th. Lastly, I'm going to write my product. So here's what I write. I take this answer here and I go 6.72. Then I include a multiplication sign and a 10. And I take this 12, and that's going to be my exponent for the 10. Before you're done, do a double check. Is this between 1 and 10? Yes, 6.72. Is this a multiply? Yes. Is this a 10? Yep. And is this an exponent? Good. Then we're good. There are going to be some examples where we're going to have to adjust this number, so pay attention when I do those. Okay, so what I did was I took this top equation or expression and wrote it over here. So I'll do this one first on the right side, then I'll come back and do this one. So let's follow our steps. First step, we're going to take the coefficients. So we'll take this number and multiply those together. When I did that, I ended up with 28.52, and we'll talk about that later. We'll deal with that later. So next, I'm going to take my exponents on my tens and add those together. Okay, so I have 10 to the 4th multiplied to 10 to the 5th, so that's a total of 9 tens, so 10 to the 9th. So now I'm going to start to write this in scientific notation. So I wrote it in scientific notation, but if you look, I'm really not in scientific notation yet because this 28.52 is not between 1 and 10. So I need to move that decimal right here. Now, that's going to move one place to the left, and because this is a bigger number, it's going to be a positive move. So that's going to be a positive 1. So I have to increase my 9 exponent by 1. My final answer will look like this. 2.852, okay, because now it's over here, remember, multiplied to 10 to the 10th power because I had to go one spot over. And there you go. That's my answer. If you want, you can hit pause and try this one by yourself. Otherwise, just follow along. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take the coefficients and multiply those first. Okay, so we multiplied those first, and we ended up with 18.9, and we'll deal with that later. Because I know that it's not between 1 and 10. Now I need to take my tens and put the exponents together. So 10 to the 8th multiplied to 10 to the 5th will give me 10 to the 13th. Okay, so I have 18.9 multiplied to 10 to the 13th. But again, this is not between 1 and 10. So what I'm going to do is write 1, okay, 8, 9, and my decimal should be right here. So how many spots do I have to go to move it? Or I'm sorry, so I have to move it to right there so it's in the right spot. So that's going to increase by 1. So I'm going to add 1. So 10 to the 14th. There's my answer. 10 to the 14th. So my final answer is 1.89 multiplied to 10 to the 14th, and it is in scientific notation. So on this slide, we're going to talk about how do we do multiplication with scientific notation if the exponents are negative. Well, if you're multiplying numbers in scientific notation that have negative exponents, we're going to do the same steps, the same things. And just remember that they're negative. So what's negative 3 plus negative 3? That's negative 6. And then 2 multiplied to 3 is 6. So there's the answer. Okay, so let's set this one up. It's very similar to this one. As you'll notice, I took my coefficients, 2 and 3, and I set those up. So 2 multiplied to 3 is 6. So I'm going to have a 6 multiplied to 10 to the negative 6 multiplied to 10 to the negative 4 will give me a 10 to the negative 10th. And now I'm ready to go. So my final answer is 6 multiplied to 10 to the negative 10th. I know that I've always said negative exponents are not allowed in your answer. The one exception is scientific notation. It is totally right and okay to have a negative exponent on scientific notation. In fact, you need to leave it like this. There's no flipping in scientific notation. So leave it just like this, good to go. Okay, let's try this one. 5.5 multiplied to 4.2. So I'll do 5.5 multiplied to 4.2, and that equals 23.1, and we'll deal with it later. 23.1. Next, I'll do 10 to the negative 7 multiplied to 10 to the 4th, so I add the exponent, so negative 7 plus 4 gives me 10 to the negative 3. So let's write our problem in scientific, or get close. 23.1 multiplied to 10 to the negative 3. Now, this 23 is bigger. It's bigger than 1. Because it's bigger than 1, when I move this over to right here, it's going to be a positive move. So watch. This will be 2.31. Now, how many spots did I have to move it? 1. So that's going to be a plus 1. So my answer will be 2.31 multiplied to 10 Now I have to do negative 3 plus 1, and that gives me negative 2. So the tricky part on these is adjusting your answer correctly. That's the tricky part, okay? So just be careful. If you move it this way and it was a big number, like 23, bigger than 1, that means it's a positive move. And positive plus negative 3 gives us negative 2. Well, you know, this slide isn't really needed because I already talked to you about that. But what happens if the coefficient is more than 10? So 4 times 6 is 24, and 3 plus 4 is 7. So we already know what to do here. It tells you how to do it. You move the decimal place until you get it right there. So 2.4, and because it was a move of 1, we're going to add 1 to the 7. So 7 plus 1 is 8. You really don't have to write anything on this slide. It's kind of what we already did. So it's 2.4 multiplied to 10 to the 8th, and that's your answer. Okay, dividing. Dividing is the same as multiplying. We're going to do the same thing. What we're going to do is do the coefficients first. We'll divide the coefficients first, and then we'll subtract the exponents on the 10. So it looks like this. So do 27 divided by 9, and that's 3. And then we're going to say multiplied to, then I'm going to do 10 to the 17th over 10 to the 5th. So remember, I'm doing 17 minus 5, and that equals 12. So I get 10 to the 12th. 17 minus 5 is 12, 10 to the 12th. Here's my answer. So this one's already in scientific. This is between 1 and 10, and the rest is all set. All right, here's what we're going to do with this next question. If you see a negative exponent in the equation, especially if it's in the basement, what you can do before you start is move it up. So here's what it would look like. You can take this 10 to the negative 4 and make it 10 to the positive 4. And then you can go like this and get rid of it. So do you see that? Bad attitude in the basement, go upstairs. So now let's continue with this question. We have 9 over 36. It does not mean 36 divided by 9. It does mean 9 divided by 36. So if you do that, you get 0.25. Now let's do this. This is 10 to the 12th plus 10 to the 4th. So we really get 10 to the 16th. Now, we can go back in time here. The original question was 10 to the 12th over 10 to the negative 4. Watch what happens. If I do 12 minus negative 4, I would do keep, change, change, and this would become 12 plus 4. So that's why I move it up. Just so it shows me that it really isn't negative, it's really a positive 4. Okay? So I'm almost done. Is this number between 1 and 10? And the answer is no, it's less than 1. So I need to rewrite this. I need to say 2.5. So I need to get this decimal right there. So that's going to be a move, and it's going to be a negative 1 move because this number is smaller than 1. So if it's smaller than 1, the move's negative to get it over. So I'll take that negative 1 and I'll combine it with this. So 16 minus 1 is 15. There's my answer. So we have one more. Before we start, let's take this and move it up. I took the 10 to the negative 8 power and I put it up. So it's positive, okay? Because remember, negative attitude, change position. So let's do this. 8 divided by 20. That equals 0.4. And now I'll do multiplied to 10, and I'll do my 12 and my 8 will combine to 20. All right, so let's adjust this a little bit. I need to move this decimal over to right here. So I'm going to say 4 point, and it's going to move one place, so that's a -1 move. So 4 multiplied to 10 to the 19th power. A word question. We will have one of these in the homework, so it's good to practice. Light from the sun travels about 1.86 multiplied to 10 to the 5th power miles per second. It takes about 500 seconds for the light to reach Earth. Find the approximate distance from the sun to the Earth. Write your answer in scientific notation. It says, hint, distance equals rate times time. So let's set that up. We're looking for distance, and our rate is 1.86 multiplied to 10 to the 5th power per second. Per means rate, so I'm going to write that right here. Our time is 500 seconds. Now, I'm going to take 500 seconds and I'm going to make it scientific notation. So it needs to be 5 point. So this decimal has to go 2 places. So it's 5 multiplied to 10 to the 2nd power. So 500 is really 5 multiplied to 10 to the 2nd power. Okay, let's follow our steps. First, take this coefficient and multiply it to this coefficient. Okay, when I multiply these together, I get 9.3. So part of my answer is going to be 9.3. That's great. Now I have to just add my exponents. When I do that, I have 10 to the 5th plus, or multiplied to 10 to the 2nd, so that gives me 10 to the 7th. So I'm all set. All I need to do is label it, and that would be miles. So 9.3 times 10 to the 7th miles is how far it is from here to the sun. Here are the word questions. Okay, if you need to, refer to other parts of the video. But remember, coefficient, multiplied coefficient, add the exponents, and then adjust at the end if you have to. And here's the other set of practice problems. Dividing, divide this, and then subtract your exponents. If you have a negative exponent on the bottom, move it up top so it's not confusing. All right, take care and bring any questions you have to class next time we meet.